So Carson, hey my friend, I appreciate you getting on Zoom with me today. It's super important that we meet and we have this conversation. And I can't thank you enough, man. You see, most people just want to go out there and take a look at homes, and I'll be honest with you, it's kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. So if that's what you kind of wanted to do coming into this, that's okay. You're not like you're not unlike anybody else. What it is that we need to have this conversation so that way when we go out there to take a look at homes, I want you to feel one, confident and ready to go out there and pull the trigger on a home. You see, if this is the biggest purchase of your life, when it comes down time and you want to go ahead and make an offer on a home, if you don't know everything or don't feel confident and comfortable, it's going to be really hard to put pen to paper. So after all of this is said and done, that's the number one thing that I hope we accomplish, is that you're ready to go out there and find a home and pull the trigger on it. Got it?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds good. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, this is going to take a few minutes. I know we're on Zoom, and kind of just like a little pause. If you guys are in person on Zoom, whatever that is, and you feel a little nervous, a lot of times nervousness happens when we're going to meet with somebody, right? If you have a Zoom, you're sitting in your waiting room, you're just waiting for this stranger to get on there, right? That's where the nerves are. As soon as they pop up, and as soon as you say, thanks for coming, and the interaction starts, your nerves start to vacate. But if they're still high, right here, whether on Zoom or in person, is where I'll say something along the lines of, Carson, this is going to take a few. So you know what? I apologize. If you need to go use the restroom or grab a drink of water, I think I'm going to go drink. I think I'm going to go grab a drink of water myself, because I'm going to be talking a lot during this. And then you push pause or stop video or mute or whatever. Go collect yourself. You've met them. The nerves are over. Go get yourself a glass of water, take a few sips and come back. If you're in person, same thing, right? But you use the excuse that this is going to take some time and that you're going to need some water because you're going to be the one talking. It's going to also putting them at ease, right? They're coming into this thinking they're just going to spill their guts about what they're looking for in a home. But if you reverse that role and you just tell them they're going to be the student, they're much more relaxed at that point. So intro, thank them for coming in. But instead of just saying, thanks for meeting with me today, this is an important step in the process, tell them why it's an important step in the process. You see, this is the most important step in the process, because by the time we are done, you're going to feel confident and comfortable to pull the trigger on a home, right? You're embedding stuff in their mind. The intro, you guys, is so important. It's unreal. It's unreal how much this starts the relationship off the right foot, and it allows them to start paying attention more. Okay. So that's the intro. Super simple, super easy. Now, the next thing that I go into is I want them to kind of create this outline in their head, right? I need them to understand that, yes, I'm going to be talking a lot and this is going to take some time. But nobody really likes to go into something not knowing what the process looks like, unless you're going to watch a new movie. That's the only time we really like not knowing what's going to happen next, right? So Carson, hey man, yeah, like I said, I appreciate you coming in. Blah, blah, blah. To be honest with you, I'm going to be talking a lot today, but we're going to go over just three things. Just three things. First, I want to know if you have, what are some burning questions that you have about, why we're meeting, what the process looks like. I want to know kind of what's on your mind coming into this. Second, we're going to go over your criteria. I want to know what you're looking for in a home. And third, I'm going to go over the buying process with you. And then we'll wrap this all up, and we'll finish off with any questions you have, and then hopefully we'll go ahead and get started. And by the end of this, I hope that, you choose to work with me and that I feel like you're a good fit for my business as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you give them that outline and then you end with that little punchline, right? At the end of this, we're going to see if we're a good fit. I'm going to see if you fit my business model, right? You are directing the buyer. Do not let the buyer direct you. You'll be showing way too many houses and you'll let them run all over you. I promise you. Done it too many times. So that's the outline. Okay. So intro, go through those 3-step outline, right? Questions, criteria, and the buying process. And now watch, here's the big psychological piece. Carson, and please make up like a couple of questions. Carson, hey, so yeah, so you came in here today, I feel like, you're ready to tell me what you're looking for in a home, but riddle me this, what kind of burning questions do you have about this process or about buying a home? Like what's top of mind for you?
I think the biggest thing is like that. I mean, I want to get what I want, you know. So I mean, I just don't know what to really expect as far as like how much money do I need and all of that. And I mean, just the area, if I can afford where we want to look at is our biggest issue. Um, I mean, can you answer that?
Yeah, I can. I'm actually going to be able to answer that. Like I said, we're going to go over your criteria first, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the home buying process. And I think after we go through that, you're going to really get a take on the market, kind of, yeah, what kind of money you're looking at, how does a lender work, making sure that we can find what you're looking for within your budget. All of those things I'm going to probably go through kind of in that last step, the third part of our little meeting
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Okay.
What other kind of questions do you have?
I mean, some of my friends have said that maybe not now's not the time to buy because the market is up, down. You don't know what to expect. And I mean, I'm just kind of nervous
Yeah.
about maybe I will go back to renting for another year and maybe let this kind of calm down.
Perfect. No, I really pick up on what you're saying, and yeah, like I said, we're gonna really tackle what the market looks like. If you have the time, I would actually love to maybe get down your criteria. We'll go over what the market looks like, and then I'll just pull up in my laptop or I'll screen share. It depends on whether you're in person, right? I'll screen share the MLS. So our MLS is called the multiple listing service, and I can put that up on our screen right now, and I can actually set up your search in real time with you kind of helping me kind of punch in all of the things. So that way you can see what the market brings. And that way you can see I'm not hiding anything from you. You
Okay.
see, we do have an ever turning market right now. What that means is in one glimpse, there may seem like there's not a lot of inventory out there. And the last thing I want you to do, Carson, is feel like I'm working against you to try and not show you too many homes. You see, the fact of the matter is I don't get paid until you close. So there's no reason why I would ever not show you homes that fit your criteria, because I want you to go see homes. I want you to go out there and buy something. See, that's what I do for a living. And so we can tackle that kind of in step 3 when we go over what the market looks like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
Great. And so kind of pause here. So you guys, you see, we haven't started yet. So the psychological piece is that any question he has simply is going to be covered down the road. It's reverse engineering that psyche. Now I know what's most important to him. You see, he didn't say, well, I think I need to figure out where my credit score's at. How much money do I need to have down to buy a home? So he didn't talk about lending. It means my lending conversation is going to be shorter, and my home buying process conversation is going to be longer, right? He didn't talk about, the transition, moving from a rental into a home. He didn't talk about that. I don't have to emphasize that. You see, the questions that they ask you right here, guys, are the most important things that you better tackle, and you better make sure you talk around probably 2 and 3 different times so they understand it in its entirety. And then, like I said, that's the key right there, is you get what's important to them, and then you think through in your mind, okay, when I get to that place in my presentation, I'm gonna make sure that point is driven home, right? You get some people on here that say, hey, Bruce, the only kind of questions I have is, who do you recommend for lending? Because we're ready to do this. Oh, great. What kind of questions do you have about the process? I don't really have any questions about the process. I feel like, you're going to be able to take care of that. You're going to show us. Boom. I don't really talk about so much of the process. I talk more about lending, right? So that is so important. I cannot drive that home enough. That's the number one reason why I believe I build the best rapport with my folks, and they feel comfortable with me, because I address their concerns. Make sense so far? Okay. So Carson, yeah, no, those are all great questions. And it sounds like every single one of those things is actually going to be something we tackle kind of around that home buying process. So
Okay.
yeah, with that being said, let's jump into your criteria. I know you're itching to just tell me what you're looking for in a home.
Yeah.
So yeah, lay it on me. Tell me, a little bit more about your situation.
So there's just three of us. There's just me, my wife, and my kid. And I mean, we got a dog, so I would like a yard. I don't like to live like right on top of each other. I do want some space.
Exactly. So when you say, tell me a little bit more about your situation, tell me a little bit more about the house, let them go, right? Let them talk. Do not interrupt them at this point, like I interrupted Carson. Take your pen and paper and write down things. Show attentiveness. All right. Your consultation has got to be more psychological than anything else. It's the same thing when I talk to Brady about lead generation. The reason why Brady is good on the phones is because he has no fear, and all he wants to do is build rapport with that person. That's all you're trying to do throughout this too. You're not trying to sell them a home right here. So let them spew, let them talk about anything and everything, and write almost everything down that you can. Sometimes I just scribble, right? Like I don't draw pictures, but I just write words down. I write shorthand, whatever it is, make them feel like you are paying so much attention to their needs around a house. It's unreal, right? But here's what you do. You let them spew it out, and you either interrupt them at points that you need to ask a clarifying question, or you wait till you get done and ask them clarifying questions. So this is where I talk to you guys about 3 questions deep. The rule of thumb is that you can't go deep enough until you ask 3 questions or more around the same thing to get full clarity on something. And so here's what I mean by that. The easiest one that I do is, so Carson, you said that you were looking for a 3-bedroom home. Tell me a little bit more about why a 3-bedroom is so important to you and what you're going to be using those bedrooms for. Question 1. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, there's obviously I need a master for myself. I have a child, and then we have people come over, and we absolutely need another room for that. I don't want them sleeping on my couch and ruining my couch.
So for you and your wife, for your kiddo, and then for a guest room or storage or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Right on. So riddle me this: if the perfect house came available, would you be opposed to a 4-bedroom place?
No, at least 3. We can go 4.
Great. Is there a maximum?
I mean, I guess our budget is our maximum. Okay. No, cool. There's not. Nope.
Sweet. 3 questions. Now, what's the next question? Say it again, Becky.
Maybe if he needs an office space, or doesn't matter what level it's on, the master bedroom is what I would ask.
Perfect. See, so the next question that I would ask would be, what if the perfect 2-bedroom home comes up that has an office or a loft that can be converted into that 3rd bedroom for the right price? The next question that I would ask would be, oops, sorry, I gotta let Ariana get in here. The next question that I would ask would be, I lost it. Say what you said again, Becky. Oh my gosh.
To some people, it's important that the master's like on the 1st floor and bedrooms are separate from it.
Perfect. So yeah, Carson, as far as all 3 bedrooms go, would a house with 2 bedrooms, upstairs and 1 in the basement work, or do you need all 3 on the same level?
It doesn't matter to me, really. We're young. We can go upstairs.
Great. See, we just went 5 or 6 question deeps around bedrooms. Around bedrooms, right? And then I might, after I go through a couple of criteria pieces and I'm asking 5 and 6 questions, that's when I'm going to, again, put the psychological piece back in their mind. And I'm going to say something along the lines of, Carson, hey, man, I apologize. I ask a lot of questions. And the number one reason why I ask a lot of questions out there is because you're going to have to, sometimes you're going to feel like you're taking time off of work. taking time out of your family life on the weekends or evenings to go see houses. And I don't want to show you anything to waste your time that doesn't fit your criteria. So I apologize, I'm asking so many questions, but this is why I do this, because we're only going to go out there and we're going to see 5 to 7 homes before you make an offer. The reason why we're only going to see 5 to 7 homes is because you're going to see hundreds online. And so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I want you to understand that if we go out and see 5 to 7 homes, you're going to feel confident making an offer because you've seen so many online and you've eliminated them through photos and things that we can find online. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'd rather not waste anybody's time.
Bingo. And see, I'm telling him, I don't want him to waste his time, his precious family time. He might have to take off of work. 5 to 7 homes. You're setting them up for, they see the first 3 homes, they start to feel confident they can make an offer because they understand they looked at all those other homes online, right? And so I'm going to do it again and again and again. Somebody just shout out a piece of criteria that you want me to go 3 questions deep on. Cool. Location, right? Location is one where it's an instantaneous 4 questions deep. Instantaneous. Why? Come on, there's 4 directions. That's my dad joke. So you have 4 directions. So you have to ask 4 questions around location, right? So some of my location starts around this. Hey, where crickets, Caleb? Yeah, hold on. Derek said something. Oh, Harry, the White Wizard, just to let you guys know, he's blowing me up right now. He just broke down again. His RV has broke down like 4 times on this vacation that his wife forced him to take. I'm sorry, but he's like, this is just karma. I'd rather ask you 100 questions to show you 10 homes than 100 houses to ask you 10 questions. Exactly. Those are scripts that you guys need to use, learn, have, and do. It's so important. So with location, 4 questions deep at least, because there's 4 directions. Now, I don't necessarily always start off with, where's the furthest north that you want to go? I start off with, tell me more about your location. Where would you like to be? And what's important to you about that? So kind of a 2-sided question, question 1. And Carson's going to say, well, I'd like to live, you live in Alt, right? So I'd like to live, in the Alt Pierce area. Well, what's important to you about that? Question 2. Well, you see, I want to be this far away from work. I like the rural area, right? He's going to answer whatever that is, right? Okay, great. So those are some smaller cities. So, I hear it's important for you to be, and within this distance around X, Y, and Z. I don't really care, right? I guess, tell me this, Carson, what's the furthest north that you would absolutely look? Because my system has no variances. And what I mean by that is if I set a map search up for you around county line X, Y, and Z, it's not going to show you a house a block north of that if it's not within that area. So when we talk about this area, Carson, I really want you to kind of make it as broad as you can, and understand that if something appears too far away from work or wherever's important to you, we don't have to go see that house. But at least you are able to see it online and eliminate it that way. Because again, you're going to see so many houses online, but we're going to go see 5 to 7 before you make an offer. So what's the furthest north that you would go? What's the furthest east, south, west? Get that parameter. Figure out if it's roads that are important to them. Figure out if it's cities that are important to them. All of those things, right? So got to go 3 questions deep. The criteria piece takes a long time, you guys. And that's why I can condense my 2-hour buyer consult into about an hour and a half of educating you guys around this. Anybody have any questions about criteria? Give me some scenarios here. We can take a few minutes on this because this takes time. And sometimes you get those off the wall things that people ask.
I've had people say that they really don't have an area. They're just looking for everywhere. And then it's like you set them up on a search, they're going to get 300 houses sent to them and then just blow them up. And I felt guilty for doing that to them. Perfect.
Now, that's the elephant, right? If you feel guilt, there's an elephant that needs to be tackled. So that's really good. I like this one. I got a couple others we're going to go over too. So yeah, Carson, hey, you know what? I really appreciate you letting me know. So what I hear you saying is I can draw a map pretty much as big as Colorado.
I mean, I guess in the Front Range.
Okay, so in the Front Range. So you don't want to be in the foothills, you kind of want to be more on the plains.
I mean, whichever, but I just kind of want to see what's out there.
Great. No, and I'm going to show you everything that's out there. The reason why I'm asking you this many questions around location is because I'm not sure. I want to know, like, if I sent you 300 homes, or would you want to sift through 300, or kind of what would be that ideal situation or ideal number that you may or may not want to, look at?
It's like, I don't know, 30 to 50 houses, I guess.
Okay, perfect. So what that means, Carson, is what we're going to do is we're going to create this. I'm going to pass. Thank you so much. What we're going to do is we are going to, gosh, that looks good. Somebody brought in fresh donuts, and I don't do sweets.
Take the donut, Bruce. Take the donut. I
bad.
did it. I took the donut. Do it.
I don't do sweets. So Carson, what we're going to do is we're going to keep your search large. And what that means is in order to whittle down to 30 to 50 houses or so, we're going to get very specific on your criteria in other areas. All right. And what I mean by that is, if you want a 2-car garage, we're only going to look at 2-car and above. If you want 3 bedrooms, we're only going to look at 3 and above. We're also going to get specific on square foot. We're going to get specific on price point. We're going to get specific on HOAs, neighborhoods, all of those things. So let's go through that. And now right here, Carson, is where I would flip my buyer's consultation from stop asking them questions about criteria just verbally. I would put on a screen share, and I would get into Iris, and I would start to develop their search. So that way they can see, okay, their range is broad, and maybe the map starts to bring visuals, just kind of like what you said. If I do a whole map search of Colorado, then you said, well, maybe the Front Range, boom, they just eliminated half the state with one question, right? Now they start to see it, and I'll start to have the Front Range all the way out to, Nebraska, Oklahoma. And then when I sit there and say, okay, so if you lived out here in Fort Morgan, do you know how far away that is to the mountains, and is that important to you? Well, no, I'm not sure how far that is. I literally go to another tab, type in Google, go to map search, and go Fort Morgan to Rocky Mountain National Park. And I'd let them see how far the drive is, and I let them see what's important to them about that. Because here's the other piece, right? If their map search is very, very large, their price point is going to show them better property in some areas versus others, right? If their price point's $350, go ahead and show them what they can get in Fort Collins, Loveland, Longmont, Denver for $350, and then go show them what they can get in Fort Morgan for $350. They're going to go over to Fort Morgan if they're okay with that drive. They don't need to be close to the mountains. They're retiring to make a better living or a better life for themselves. They're going to get granite countertops. They're going to get houses. They're going to get some grass for $350. Longmont, you probably not getting a condo. So even with a search being super, super wide, their other pieces of criteria should whittle that down. And then if I'm still hitting 300 homes, I'm going to say, this is why I'm kind of asking you to help me whittle in on the location. Otherwise, I have 300 homes to send you. Now, I can do another thing if you'd like. We can look at age. That will take out a lot of homes too. So the reason why I like to go through the MLS with people that have this vagueness around their criteria is because it reminds me of how many pieces of criteria I can put in there. And if they're super vague about area, I'll probably get them to be very specific about other things. And then boom, I got 30 to 50 homes to show them. Very, very, very good question, because you get those retirees that are like, yeah, anywhere from like Wyoming to, Pueblo. I don't go to Pueblo, dude. But their price point usually helps. How safe is the neighborhood? Perfect. That's a great question. Hey, Carson, I appreciate you asking me that. And to be honest with you, I believe that since we grew up in different neighborhoods, my idea of safe could be a little different than yours. You see, I was stunned to know, Carson, that when I moved out here, I went to this website that I like. I like this website when people ask me about schools. I went to greatschools.org and I looked up the high school that I went to, and my high school was ranked as a number 2. And high schools in Longmont, they're ranked as like 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8s. And to be honest with you, I thought my high school was super safe. And so when you ask me about a neighborhood, I think it's an opinion-based question. By safe, what do you mean by that? And so you put it back on them. And then they might say, well, I just want to feel safe. I don't want to walk down the street and get mugged. Oh, I got you. So you're looking more for like, if there's a bunch of crime in the area. Hey, I'll tell you what, because I can't discriminate on a certain area and because safe is more of an opinion-based question, the last thing I want you to do is for me to say that this neighborhood is safe and then you move in week 1 and your neighbor slash your tires. I can't have that on my conscience. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to the city municipality website. And I'd like for you to look up the crime ratings. I don't know if you know that, but you can do that in counties and cities. And it's going to show up a heat map around where crime happens, what kind of crime was committed, and all of those things. And it'll kind of help you kind of gauge. Here's the other thing I encourage you to do, Carson. Because you're living in an area right now, I encourage you to look up the crime rate or the crimes that are happening in your area. You see, a lot of times people think that these are very, very nice neighborhoods, but every single neighborhood has crime happening in it. Now, the severity of crime does differ, and I think that's up to your judgment. Do you guys see how I talk around that? And I don't have to say I can't say that to you, right? Our license says we cannot discriminate, but you can't just say that to a buyer. You're copping out, right? To them, they're like, well, what the hell? What good are you? Like, I'm looking to trust you. And you're telling me you can't tell me whether a neighborhood's safe? So you go with those types of analogies, those types of remedies to their concern. Give me another one. Criteria takes some time.
I'm gonna backtrack on location. And if you guys are going through your location and they're answering your questions as much as you can, and it ends up being in an area where you don't have that market, you don't really have that knowledge of that area, then where would you take you? So like say to actually move to Pueblo instead. They're like, oh yeah, you know what, honestly, Pueblo would probably be a pretty good place. You're like, oh no, like where would you take you?
Yeah, I would say, you know what? I want you to be set up in the best way, shape, and form. And in the full disclosure and full honesty is that I cover, and this is where I tell them what I cover. So Bruce's business, and you guys create your own map. And I encourage you to stick to it within reason, right? So Carson, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I want you to be so well taken care of throughout this process that I need you to understand that my area of expertise actually is pretty much from Castle Rock all the way up to Wyoming along the Front Range. And I go into the mountains a little bit. So as far as like Colorado Springs and Pueblo and Monument and all of those southern areas, I'm not necessarily going to be the best fit for you. So what I'm going to do is after I get off the phone with you here, you don't have to go through all of this with another agent by any means. I'm going to find a great agent that if you find a property within the search that you and I put together that you want to go see, then what you'll do is we'll contact that agent and we'll have them go. And if that agent takes you and puts you under contract, no problem. I'm here to help you, and I'm here to make sure that your needs are taken care of. And if that means working for free for a little bit on some things up here north and you end up buying down south, no hard feelings. My job is to help you. Does that make sense? And then what you do, that's what you tell them. And then what you do is you call and you find a referral agent that understands the situation. Now, I'm telling you right now, there's not every agent will like your proposition. When I first started, I was kind of nervous about this type of stuff too. I got an agent that called me from Golden and said, hey, I've got a client looking from Fort Collins down to Monument. I'll take them from Westminster down to Monument if you can take them from Westminster north. I said yes. I showed them a few homes. I wasted some hours and they ended up buying down south. And that agent was the one referring to me. So I got absolutely nothing out of the thing. But if you have the buyer and you're doing the consultation and you set up the referral, now you can get 25% if they buy down there. And unfortunately, if they buy up here, I'm not paying the other side 25%. Does that make sense? There are some times where you can't find an agent and you might need to pay 25% regardless. So you would do a flip-flop referral. A flip-flop referral, or, you know, that's the technical term, I guarantee it. A flip-flop referral is what in my mind is where you want to make a relationship and you say, hey, look, I don't want you to work for free. So if they buy with you, pay me a 25% referral. If they end up buying with me because you showed them some houses down there, I know it's my lead, I'll still give you a 25% referral. Then you're much more likely to find an agent and build a relationship with and have a referral partner. I've never really had to do that. Usually you can find an agent that will do either or, and I do either or. When an agent calls me and tells me that, I know I'm probably working for free if they don't buy up here, but I'm okay with that. I'm a firm believer in what comes around goes around for sure. Good questions. Good questions. What about when somebody
Garage space.
garage space?
Yeah, I mean, like, what if, do they need a 1-car? Do they need 3-car? Do they need a 5-car garage? Do they need space to park an RV? Do they need?
Perfect. So how many spaces do you need? First question, right? Well, I really want a 3-car garage. Okay, great. What's important to you about a 3-car garage? So anybody?
I need space to do. I have projects that I work on, and I have 2 kids that have cars, and just need a space to park and room to work.
And room to work. Okay, so you're not necessarily parking exactly 3 vehicles in the garage.
Not every day, no.
Okay, so would you be opposed to a 2-car garage with a side workshop or a tandem bay in the back for a workshop?
A tandem would probably work, but I mean, there may be times when I actually have to park like a 3rd car in there.
Okay, so there are times where you're going to need that actual square footage for another vehicle or maybe a pop-up camper or something.
Sure.
Great. I just want to make sure because there are sometimes 2-car garages with these big workshops, but you can't really park a car in it. It's just got quite a bit of square foot to, you know, have some workbenches and store some kids' bikes and stuff like that. So cool. Let's definitely stick to a 3-car and above. Now, do you have to have that detached or attached, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter as long as
Okay.
it's not, you know, a block away.
Okay. And now if we look at some newer homes, Chad, newer homes, they might have a 3-car garage, but I'll be honest with you, they're kind of made for what I'm going to call compact cars. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of garages are about 19, maybe 20 feet deep. Do you have any special needs for an extended garage, a garage length, such as like a 21 or 22 foot garage?
That would be preferable because sometimes, I mean, I do have a couple garage refrigerators that I have. And if
Okay.
there's not room to put them in front of the car or something, because obviously they take up about 2 feet. So
Great. So what I hear you saying is if we can't find a garage with maybe like 22 or 21 foot deep, you don't even want to see it.
I wouldn't rule it out, but it would go to the bottom of my list.
Perfect. See how I did that, you guys? He still is going to go see a house because he could be wowed by the house. The house could have a shed out back that's kind of like a miniature shop, like that big, you know what I mean? And a 3-car garage that has that 19 foot depth to where maybe that 3rd car bay is the one where some of those refrigerators are. And the rest of some of the storage that the refrigerator takes up goes out to the shed. So I want him to commit to that verbally, so that way when we go see a house like that, I know that he's okay with that type of garage. The next question, do you have any requirements on garage door height? You see, standard is 7 foot, and there's a lot of people that drive, you know, lifted trucks that need that 8 foot. And so I'm going to ask him that question too. Does that help, Chad, with your question about garages?
It does.
Cool. And you guys, a lot of this stuff you just get to know over time. When I first started, I didn't know. I thought every garage door was the same height. I didn't know there was a 7, 8, and 8 foot. I had no idea. I still have a hard time looking at them, but you got to look at the panels and you got to figure out. You can drive by now. I can drive by now and kind of pick them out. But before, when I first started, I didn't know it from anything. The other thing that I run into is when their criteria does not match the market. And what I simply mean by that is I have a $350 budget in Fort Collins, and I would like a 3,000 square foot home with no HOA, RV parking. Oh, and I'd love to have a ranch with a finished basement and, you know, some space in the back. I really don't want to back to neighbors. I hope most of you are laughing because I try to hold it in when I'm sitting across the table from people, but sometimes it's hard. That's somebody who doesn't know, and I'm not even gonna tackle that. I'm gonna go, you know what? Actually, you make a good point. You know, let's see what the market brings. And sounds like you're moving to Texas, yeah. What I would do is I would simply change screen share, or if I'm in person, flip my computer around and I'm going to get on the MLS and I'm going to take them through their criteria and show them there's nothing out there. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to Zillow and do the same thing, because they might not trust the MLS just yet because you're the stranger still, but they'll trust Zillow and there won't be anything. So that's what I do in those situations when I know that their search just isn't going to bring up anything. If you're brand new and you have no idea, like if you didn't laugh when I said 350, 3,000 square foot, Fort Collins, single family home, backs to nothing, finished basement, and you didn't laugh, it's okay. Don't feel bad. You're just getting started in real estate. You haven't seen the market yet. If somebody says something and you're going, it's over my head, I don't know if I should tell them this is a good search or not, boom, just get the MLS open. It's perfectly acceptable. So before you go into a buyer's consultation, what are you going to work on? You're going to work on these scripts. You're also going to get on the YouTube page and see how to set up searches. So that way you have a base understanding of the MLS, and so you can go through it like that. And what you got to do is you got to practice on people in your life, your spouses, your kids, your family, your friends, your parents, right? Do these things now before you have a buyer, right? So by next week, go talk to somebody that's important to your life and say, I want to practice how I set up searches. Can you be a buyer for me in a hypothetical sense? And now try and fumble through the MLS while they're breathing over your shoulder. You do that a couple of times and you miss some things, you'll figure it out and you won't be so nervous when you actually do it live in front of somebody. Okay. I have market size built into. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so criteria. Any questions on that? 3 questions deep. Okay. Now, what I go into the next piece is the process. Before we go into that, I want to show you guys my buyer's presentation that I used to use all the time. I still use these types of things. They're branded with the old team that I used to be on. But you guys can use these, take these, change them, make them your own. Obviously, you don't want to use the Wise Team stuff. But I'm going to show you guys all the documents that I've used up to this point. I wanted to mainly use words at this point so you guys understand more of the process and the psychological piece versus being too focused on the resources, because you guys have the resources to go back to and look. But when I do the buying process, I have to have this page in front of me, because my words, as well as them being able to write down on a piece of paper and see the process in a flow chart form, really helps the psychological piece too. So everybody should have gotten the welcome email for productivity coaching. In that welcome email, it says the PC resource file, which is your guys' Google Drive that everybody should have access to. If you don't have access to this, let me know. And I want you guys to go to buyers. And what you'll notice is I always show this in class, right? I have a buyer now, what? So I love this guy. But up here at the top, I have my sample buyer's consultation, and these are the things that I use. So let's go through them one at a time so you guys can see what I use and how I use it, and kind of, what I go over and what I leave for them, all right? This is what I have in there. It's just a piece of paper that says, do you know builders require buyer appointments, blah, blah, blah. This helps you get your buyers to contact you before they start to go look at new builds. Oh wait, hold on, is this new build? Yeah, builders. Here's the benefits of new construction. And again, it highlights you. It really helps them put some doubt in their mind to work with you if they're looking at a new build. I don't really go over this too much unless we start to talk about new builds. Here's an information sheet about, you and your team or whoever you are. Just have something so they feel comfortable with you and they always have your contact. Here's new construction again. I love when people understand that I need to be there during their new construction process. And if they're ever thinking about going to look at new builds, that it is not a burden on them to come get me to go with them to a new build. The other thing that I do is I have a notepad. So brand it to yourself, do whatever you need to make sure that your branding is just ingrained in their mind. And so I have a notepad for them if they need to take notes throughout this process, right? If they're at home and on Zoom, they're going to take their own notes. But I'm going to bring this up and say, hey, usually if we're in person, I'd hand you this. So if you guys want, go ahead and grab a piece of paper, a pen, and so you guys can write down notes as you go. When I went over criteria, this is the lead sheet that I'm going to have as I'm asking them questions. So remember when I said I asked them, so tell me a little bit more about your situation and what you're looking for in a home. Right here's where I'm going to be writing down everything. Carson's going to be like, well, we want to live in this area. We want 3 beds, 3 baths, a 2-car garage. I'm just writing all that stuff down. And then I'm going to go over all of it in 3 questions form. So I brain dump it, and then I bring it back to what I need to accomplish and tweak. Does that make sense? So as we go and I go through my criteria with Carson, if I don't have their email, I'm going to ask Carson about his email, right? I might only have his phone number up until this point. Who else is going to be making this purchase with you? Do you have kids? What's their names, right? Kids feel important when you start to say their names. The buyers start to appreciate it when you know their family. All of this stuff. I don't ask if you have a realtor or not. I really don't like that question, to be honest with you, because that prompts them to think they should go interview. I kind of keep that one out. Best time to see homes. Like it reminds you how to answer and go through their criteria and go through how that process looks. Pre-approved. This is, you got to go through that process with them. This is where I go through their criteria. Does that make sense? As soon as I land an appointment date, appointment time, it gets put on my desk or in my folder, in a binder, whatever my process is. And then I make sure I go through this with them during that criteria phase. Okay. Loyalty agreement. So my spiel is, hey, look, and this comes at the end. For the sake of time, I really want to go through the buying process versus kind of how I close, if you will, because how I close is kind of different every time depending upon the interaction on the buyer side. But at the end of the appointment, I'll say, okay, now great. Now this is the point where we decide whether you're a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for you. And I think after everything we just talked about, I'm ready to get started with you. Now there's there's going to come a point in time, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that I need you to commit to me in paper. You see, just like listing your home, you have to sign an agreement with an agent to list your home. It's no different on the buy side. And why would it be? Right? We're representing you on one of the largest purchases. And since you're committing to me, I want to commit to some things to you as well. And so if you're going to have to commit to me, I'm going to sign this loyalty agreement. Go ahead and read through this at your leisure. And I promise to commit all these things to you. And you guys, this one single thing helps a buyer sign with me every time. because there's only one signature spot. I'm going to sign this for them. Now let's go ahead and read through here. You guys got to understand, this is a psychological document. This is not a contract in any way, shape, or form. Read some of these things. The WISE team will only commit to working with motivated and qualified individuals and purchasing a home. That's not a commitment. That is not a commitment from me to them. Well, it kind of is, right? But I'm basically telling them that I'm not going to work with you unless you're committed. We will, with your written permission, expose you and your buyer's needs through door knocking. Now you're committing yourself to lead generation. Things you're already going to do and hopefully doing for your own business, right? We'll mail and follow up by telephone to everyone that owns a home in a similar property, blah, 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 searching for you, right? And now I'm going to go door knock. I'm going to go flyer neighborhoods. We'll email you daily with new listings. The MLS does that crap for you. You will have the first opportunity to purchase the best available homes in our marketplace. Of course, they're going to have the first opportunity as long as they want to hit me up to go look at a home that's on the market, right? So you see how easy that is and how simplistic that is, but how psychologically sound that can commit somebody to sign an exclusive right to buy with you. And because I called it a loyalty agreement, I call the exclusive right to buy a loyalty agreement. So when I go to get them to sign it, I say, hey, look, you know how I signed that loyalty agreement to you guys and I want to commit to you? Here's your loyalty agreement to me. And then that's when I go through that and I get them to sign it.
So when I was talking to Harry, when I signed out my first buyer contract, I had those same sort of marketing techniques in there, cold calling, door knocking, being able to mail their similar homes, see if they're also willing to sell. But then he told me to scrap those just because if there was another case where there's, some other lead generation source where we're able to find and buy them a home, then of course the contract couldn't go through and they could come back at you and be like, he didn't do it this way, so he doesn't get owed a commission.
Exactly. That's exactly why everything that everybody asks me, Bruce, well, what do you write in your exclusive right to buy? Nothing. This is a loyalty agreement signed by me. It's not a contract.
Oh, okay.
You see, that's why everything that I see agents, all of this stuff, I see agents put into their exclusive right to buy. And that commits you because that's a contract.
Right.
This is just a service pledge. I pledge to do this. So if you don't do this, but you go under contract with them, this is not going to allow them not to pay you a commission. Well, they don't even pay you a commission anyways, the sellers do.
Right.
But he's not wrong, right? So I leave all that stuff blank. And like I said, this is psychological for me. I'm signing to them. They feel much more likely to return the favor. Good questions, good notes, Derek. Here's just another form. I think it's probably the same one. Or yeah, it's just in an editable form for you guys just to fill out and do what you need with. Okay, now let's go through the buyer's process, the flow chart. And this is how I deliver it. And Carson, this will be a little bit more interaction. All right. So Carson, honestly, so now that we're going into the buyer's process, we're going to kind of skip down here to section 3. Analyze your needs in a buyer's consultation, right? We just went through your criteria. We went through your needs. And so now after this meeting, you're going to go into the selecting properties process. And what I mean by that, Carson, is I'm going to set you up on a search through the MLS. And the MLS is going to basically pump out properties to you that are available that meet your criteria. And when I say select properties, just because that property hits because of your criteria doesn't mean it's in the exact location you want, doesn't mean it has the aesthetics and the amenities that you want. So just like I said before, we're really going to only go out and see the best properties for you. You see, I don't want you to waste your time nor my time going out and seeing properties that you already know from pictures. They're not going to work. Like, I have to ask you, why would you want to do that to yourself?
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's
See,
just look at the ones that we like.
And boom, you got to let that psychology hit. You got to let the silence do that heavy lifting. Make him respond. because then when you go out there and you see some homes, and it was, if somebody says that, Bruce, I don't like this home because of X, Y, and Z, and I saw that online, because of this conversation right here, I'm so comfortable saying, Carson, hey man, I don't mean this to sound, too brash, but remember in our buyer's consultation, you said you didn't want to see any houses that had X, Y, and Z. May I ask why we're taking a look at this home if we already knew we weren't going to like it? And I'm telling you, they kind of go, yeah, I went through it fast. I'm really sorry. I won't, I'll be more diligent about it. I just got excited a new home hit the market. And then boom, when another home hits the market, they get excited, but they think back to this situation where they're wasting their own time because they went fast through photos. You guys, I get people to write offers in 5 to 7 homes, almost like clockwork. And it's simply because of this buyer's presentation. Now, I'm going to precurse with, in this market, I show them 5 to 7 homes and they're making an offer. I'm showing buyers 30 and 40 homes right now because we're getting beat out on 3 and 4 and 5 different offers, right? But I'm showing them only 5 to 7 homes before they make a move. It will save you guys hundreds of hours out there by using these psychological pieces. You're going to select properties, Carson. You're going to see so many online and you're going to need to eliminate them. That's why you need to feel comfortable only seeing 5 to 7 homes. That's like the message you have to have in your voice, and then let heavy lifting do the work, right? You see, I want you to go through these diligently, because the last thing I want you to do, Carson, is go see a house that you could have eliminated online, because then you're wasting your time and my time.
Makes sense.
Cool. So while you're selecting properties, Carson, here's what I want you to do. There's going to be a tab. You see, I fumble finger a lot, man. We're all human. I don't want you to have to look online at a property, then shoot me a text with the address. That becomes cumbersome. And then if you type in the address wrong, or you type in the MLS number wrong, then I've got to go back and forth with you about what property it actually is and all of that. So to save ourselves some more time, when you're in the MLS search, and for the sake of just this video, I'm gonna go ahead and pull open the search so you guys understand what I'm talking about. For the sake of time, Carson, what I want you to do in your search is I want you to either favorite or trash a property. Oh, crap. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so Carson, you're gonna go into your search and I want you to either favorite or trash a home. Now, in the search, there's an option for a maybes tab, Carson. But here's my question to you. Are you buying a home, or are you maybe buying a home?
We're buying a home.
Perfect. Then there should be no such thing in your maybes tab. You either want to see the house with me or you don't. So please don't use the maybes tab. The only reason why I would say use the maybes tab, Carson, is maybe you want to see the home, but you're not sure if your wife has saw that property yet, and you don't want to favorite it until she looks at it. Because again, you don't want to waste your time nor my time. If you favorite that home, we go out and look at it, and it's something your wife could have eliminated, go ahead and use the maybes tab there. But I only want 1 or 2 properties in that maybes tab at a time, because again, you're not maybe buying a home. We're seeing the home, or you're trashing it because it doesn't meet your criteria. Be very, very, very selective through those photos and that criteria. Because you're only buying one, right? Wait, I didn't ask you. Oh my gosh. I'd make a joke right here, right? I didn't ask you. Are you buying multiple homes? You know, it really solidifies. I mean, my entire process is I'm closing the entire consultation. I don't know if you're a good fit for me, and you don't know if I'm a good fit for you. We're only going to see 5 to 7 homes. You don't want to waste your time or my time. I am literally setting every expectation multiple times throughout this conversation, right? So Carson, the reason why I like you to put in your favorites is because you guys, I'm not working with very many buyers. Let me see if I've got anybody. The reason why I want you to put in your favorites is because I can see all of those addresses. You don't have to go ahead and type in a bunch of different, you don't have to go in and type a bunch of different addresses into me, and I'll know exactly what we need to set up, and I'll be able to set it up in a linear order. Holy crap, 56 favorites. These people need a little education from Brewster, apparently. Oh, I got you. A lot of them have sold and closed. Okay, that makes sense. So let's pretend like some of these properties are active, okay? You're gonna have a favorites list, let's just say of these 4 houses, all right? The reason why I'm telling Carson, put them in your favorites folder is because you, as the agent on the back end, get to go in and pull open all of their favorites. But the best part about that, you guys, is when you get their favorites open, you can go up here to map. And now they didn't have to type to you all 4 of those addresses. You know exactly what they want them to see. They're the ones who hit the favorite button, and you can go in a linear order. I live in Longmont. So if they say, hey, Bruce, we want to start seeing all these properties on Friday at 3 p.m. I'm probably going to go over here at 3. I'm going to go over here at probably 3:30 or 3:45, maybe 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then bam, I end closer to my house. I save myself some time. There's no fumble fingers. Everybody gets to see the houses that they want. And it's not your fault if you set up the wrong house because they favorited the wrong place, right? The other thing that you need to do is go through, right? You've got your sheet, you've got your buyer's lead sheet. Now go through these properties really quickly and see if you can eliminate any of these properties based upon what they told you at the buyer's consultation in reference to why they favorited them. Okay, so for instance, if somebody says, I need blah, 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 right? Go through the photos and see if blah, blah, blah is in there. If it's not, say, hey, look, I saw that you said you wanted to go look at 2360 Dogwood Circle. It didn't have XYZ in the property. Can you help me understand why you wanted to go see that? Because if you changed your mind on your criteria, I have your search set up wrong, and that's the last thing I want to do. And here's what happens. They either say, oh my gosh, no, I didn't even know it didn't have that. I kind of just like the granite countertops in there. Then bam, you just save yourself some time. Or they say, yeah, you know what, we really thought about it, and there's not a lot of inventory on the market. And so we're good with not needing X, Y, and Z now. And bam, they just verbally committed that to you. So if they go see Dogwood and Dogwood is exactly what they're looking for, and they don't want it because of the same things they told you the reasons why they wanted to see it, then you can call them out for it. Hey, I'm really sorry. And I don't really mean to like just berate you, but you said we were going to go see this house because you were okay. It didn't have X, Y, and Z. According to what I'm seeing, it's the perfect home for you minus those things. May I ask what it is about this home that we're not making an offer on? I'm telling you, if you use those types of scripts, you do those types of things, you save yourself countless hours and you show 5 to 7 homes. Because mark my words, the first time that somebody wants me to see a home that I can pick out that they weren't going to like from photos, or that they told me they're okay with and they're not, they don't do it again to you because they feel bad, because they instantly realized they left work early, or they got home late and they had to eat dinner late and their kids were cranky and they had to get up the next day at work, and it's daunting to go look at homes. They'll never do it again to you. Mark my words. It's awesome. It's so amazing. So Carson, I use the favorites and trash tabs. I'm going to set up only the ones that you favorite. Again, we're only ever going to go look at maybe 2, 3, or 4 homes at a time. we're going to see maybe 5 to 7 homes before you make an offer. But if it's the right home, Carson, right? You went through hundreds of homes online. You trashed different things. If the first house that we see is the right home, I need you to be prepared to make the offer on that house. Now we're going to maybe, see homes 1, 2, and 3 that evening. But if the first home you see is the house for you, I want you to be prepared. So I want you to be very selective through the MLS process. So that way there's no what if. Well, what if I miss something? What if there's another home that hits the market? You'll know right away that that's the house for you and you'll feel comfortable making that offer. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Awesome. So we're going to go out and view some properties now, right? We're going to go out and we're going to take a look at these properties. Now, I'm not the type of agent that's going to guide you through a home unless you want me to. You see, I'm pretty sure you know what a kitchen looks like. So when we get to the house, I'm going to ask you if you want the lights on or off. Most people like to kind of feel the home the way it is. And so we'll flick on lights maybe as we go through the rooms. But if you absolutely want me to like glamorize the house, I'll go ahead and turn them all on for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through the home and we're going to see it through your eyes, meaning you're going to go ahead and feel the home. You're going to guide yourself. I'm going to kind of take a step back. I'm going to watch you guys. I'm going to look at the home for structural issues and maybe, major items. I want you guys to see if it's something you'll like. Will you do me a favor though, Carson?
Mm-hmm.
If you see something that's going to cause you not to buy the home, promise me you don't need to see the rest of the home.
I can do that.
Perfect. You see, I don't want you to entertain me, Carson. I got a lot of people when I first started in this industry, they would walk in and they'd hate the kitchen, but they'd tell me that, but then they'd still want to see all 4 bedrooms, the basement, the backyard, even though the kitchen was the reason why they didn't want to make the home. And what I realized, Carson, is because they felt like I took the time to set it up, so they needed to take the time to see the whole home. We don't need to do that. We just go to the next home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes
Cool.
perfect sense.
If we drive up to a property and you just hate the neighborhood, the aesthetics, the whatever it looks like, just tell me. We just go drive to the next property. Now, on the flip side of that, Carson, if you find a home you like, give me that old Brewster head nod like, hey, Bruce, we're going to check this home out for a little bit. I want you to take as much time as you need in the home that you want to make an offer on. Because again, it's a big commitment, but if you're ready to pull the trigger and you take time in the home to make sure it's what you look for, you're going to have a much easier time submitting that offer to the seller. And so I'm not the type of agent that's going to rush you out of a home. And to be honest with you, since again, remember you said you're only buying one home, it means that when we go see 3 and 4 different properties, you're going to know when a property is not the one you want to buy. So the time that we save, not walking through every single property is the time that you're going to be able to spend on the property that you really want to buy. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Awesome.
That makes sense.
Great. So that's what we're going to do when we're going out to view properties. Don't appease me by looking at things that you don't want to buy, but definitely know that I'm the type of agent that's going to allow you to spend as much time as you want. I have no problem having the sellers come home because we're past our time and us having a conversation with them about how much you love their home and how they may need to give us some more space. I have no problem with that. And to be honest with you, if they want to sell their home, they're going to give us space. I'll just go out front. I'll chat with them. Next thing you know, we might even have a beer with them. Who knows? Sound good? Make sense? Blah, blah, blah. Cool. So once you find the home that you want to make an offer on, again, you're going to get to that point where it's going to be a little nervous. But if we tackle everything we need to today, you're going to make that offer. When we make that offer, sometimes sellers might need some time to review that offer. In our market, and this is where I start talking about our market, right? We're in a seller's market. Things are going on the market and going off just as quickly. Some sellers are going to want you to make an offer Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and they're going to make a decision on Monday or Tuesday. So this is where I'm going to go through all of the market, what it is, how that looks, right? And I'm going to set this up for Carson right here. Carson, in our contracts, we're going to put an offer acceptance deadline. Now, I really want to use the right words here, Carson. It's an offer acceptance deadline. It means that if they like our offer, they do need to accept our offer within that time frame. Now, it's not a response deadline. So if they don't love our offer, if they're waiting for other offers to come in, if there's something they want to counter our offer on, I may not hear back from them by that acceptance deadline, because again, it's not a response deadline. They do not have to call me before that deadline. So I know it gets a little nerve wracking. Say we submit an offer and we say, we want to know if you like our offer by Monday at 5. There's a good chance I'm not calling you until 7 o'clock at night. Heck, maybe even the next morning. So I don't want you to get too antsy with it. These things take some time, maybe 24 to 48, maybe even a whole weekend, 72 hours. But when we submit that offer, I'm going to keep in communication with you with every step of the way. Anytime I hear from the selling side, I'm going to call you. But if you're not hearing from me and you feel antsy, feel free to reach out to me, man. The reason why I'm not calling you is because I just haven't heard anything from them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
That makes sense.
You guys got to set that. There's another psychological piece. You got to tell them that now. Because if you don't, and you make an offer and you say, yeah, they need all offers by Monday at 5, guess who's berating you on Monday at 5? And they're pissed off at their agent because you're not communicating with them. Set it up now so that way you don't have to communicate with them all day on Monday. They have that expectation. Okay. So they can do one of 3 things on our offer, Carson. They can either accept it, they can reject it, or they might counter it. And what a counter proposal means is that they might like our offer, but they want to change a few things. If they want to change a few things, you have the right then to agree to those changes or reject their counter. And then we move on, we go look at another property. Make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Makes total sense.
So if you can see, I would draw a line right here. I would say everything above this is the before contract. Everything below this is under contract to close. So let's go through this, because this is the part of the process that I start to make my living off of. You see, we don't get paid, Carson, to go show you homes. I'll be straight up honest with you. You can see so many homes online. Our job in the last 20 to 30 years has kind of flipped. You see, we used to be the gatekeepers of the properties for sale. And now with the World Wide Web, there's plenty of homes out there. But do you know where we get paid and why we get paid what we do? It's because of the under contract to close process. You see, during this process, this is where all of my hours of work come in. This is where I negotiate for you, and this is where I get you to the closing table. So during the day, I may not be in conversing with you, understand I'm putting hours of time into making sure that we go through all of this documentation so we can get you to closing. You see, we get paid for more of the specialization of our license through the contract to close process than we do all of this other stuff that we're doing right now. So this is my strong suit, and this is what I do to get people into homes. It's to get through the contract, to negotiate on inspection, appraisals, all of those big hurdles that we have. Let's go over one by one, all right? So once we make an offer and we get our offer accepted, the very first thing that we're gonna do, and this is where I would either highlight, I would put my cursor around, we're gonna submit earnest money, Carson. Do you know what earnest money is? And everybody says no. We're gonna submit earnest money. Earnest money is your skin in the game. It's your good faith, meaning we're gonna put 1 to 2% of the purchase price down to the title company. So that way the title company and the sellers know that we're committed to buying this house. Now I'm gonna protect that earnest money. Remember how I said most of my job is through this part of the process? Well, my job is to protect your earnest money. And mark my words, to this day, Carson, I have never lost anybody's earnest money. The only earnest money I've ever seen a buyer lose that was in my hands was because of the buyer's choice. And that's actually only happened once. So my job is to protect this earnest money. So let's go through how I'm going to protect that earnest money. The first thing that we're going to do is submit earnest money. The second thing we're going to do is going to pick up the phone and we're going to call the inspector. And when I say we, I mean you. See, you're hiring the inspector. They're a third-party company that you're hiring to inspect that home. I have a list of preferred vendors that we're happy to use and have that I've worked with before, but you can also hire whoever you want. So you're going to call the inspector. We're going to get on the books. We're going to have the general home inspection. Now, during that inspection, there's going to be a multitude of things that come up. You see, I've been doing this so long, Carson, I can tell you that even on a brand new construction home, the inspection reports, there's still 50 pages or more. So expect there to be very nitpicky things about this home. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go through the place that you live in right now. I don't know if you rent or buy or whatever. And I want you to go through and I want you to nitpick your place. You see, these reports, they can be intense because it's going to highlight all of the negatives. It's going to really make you think, Carson, that your house is horrible. But the reality is that if you took that report and you look through all of those little things, you'll start to realize they're little things because you live with them every day. They're going to say that the caulking is cracked and needs replaced. They're going to say the dryer vent needs cleaned out. And you're going to go, wait, when's the last time I even cleaned out my dryer vent? You see, there's a lot of things in those reports that the inspectors have to cover their butts on. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to know what's important to you, what needs to be fixed, and what are non-negotiables. Because these reports are daunting, we need to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves and our request to the seller. And what I mean by overextend, Carson, is that if we ask them to fix a bunch of these little things that I can assure you are around every single home, the sellers are not likely to be advised to fix them for you because they have an agent on the other side too. So what I really want you to know is through inspection, we're going to negotiate. If there's deal breakers, if there's major items, if there's health and safety issues, we're going to ask them to probably go ahead and fix them or give us a credit or help us out with them. The sellers have the right to reject our offer or our request. They have the right to accept our request in its entirety. And then they have the right to do what's called an inspection resolution or rebuttal to our inspection objection, meaning they might do some things, they might not do others. Who knows? But I want you to know that the inspection process, it's a negotiation point. And I also want you to know that I may have to have some tough conversations with you around this. You see, if we walk into a home and the carpet is soiled, that seller chose to list their home with soiled carpet. If they chose to list their home with soiled carpet, that seller's looking at carpet being a cosmetic item. I need you to budget for new carpet. That is not something that I feel confident we're going to be able to ask a seller to replace or repair for you. Does that make sense? Perfect. Any questions about inspections, how it works? I know it's a lot right now, and we'll go through it one step at a time as the process goes. But if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay.
Cool. Then the next major thing that's going to happen for us on the buy side is the lender is going to order the appraisal. Now, the appraisal can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to happen. And to be honest with you, the buying side really has no knowledge of like how and what's going on with it because the appraiser can't contact us. The appraiser is going to contact the selling side, go out to the property, and they're going to look at the property and they're going to see if the property is worth what you're paying. Because they're the risk management people for the banks, right? The bank's not going to want to lend you that amount of money if the property is not worth that amount of money to the appraiser's eyes. So one of three things can happen. The property appraises above contract price, at contract price, or below contract price. The only thing that we need to worry about is if it appraises below contract price. You see, if it appraises below contract price, then the contract states that the buyer can stand their ground at contract price, but the seller can stand their, or I'm sorry, the buyer can stand their ground at appraisal value, but the seller can stand their ground at contract price. And so if you have both parties standing their grounds on opposite sides, where do we close? Well, one of a couple things happen. Either one party gives up or the other, or both parties start to negotiate and meet in the middle somewhere. It's not always the perfect middle, right? Or the contract falls apart. We get our earnest money back and we go and find the next property. Scary, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Sounds like a lot of money. Could be lost.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I want you to be prepared. You see, I want to set you up with a lender who, if the property doesn't appraise and we go see another property, I want either the lender to, maybe foot the bill for an appraisal, or I want you to understand that appraisals can cost $750 right now. Let alone we just had our inspection done, which costs $300 to $500. So all in all, if we get down to this process and it dissolves, you might be out $1,000. And I call that the cost of doing business. Unfortunately, you're buying one of the largest purchases of your life. And the risk of that the contract going south is about $1,000. Are you prepared to have that happen?
Yeah, I think so. We just need to pick the right one then.
Bingo. And that's why, Carson, you don't want to go out and see homes that are maybes. Because the fact of the matter is, if it's a maybe online, it's probably a maybe in person. And then you're less likely to want to negotiate, which means it's more likely to fall apart. And I don't want to see you lose $1,000. I want to see you go under contract on the house that I look at and say, look, this looks like a beautiful home. If there's anything major on inspection, it's something that we can't see, right? Cool. If it's something we can't see, then the sellers can't see it, which means the sellers are more likely to work with us. So as you can see, that inspection report is going to be super long. And a lot of that stuff in the inspection report is going to be stuff that we can see. So if we can see it at the time of the house, we have to understand it's going to come up on the inspection report. If it's going to come up on the inspection report, I don't want it to scare you. The only things I want to scare us are stuff we can't see, stuff behind the walls. You guys see how this script gets Carson to the point where he's probably only going to ask for inspection items that we couldn't see? If you ask for inspection items that you can't see, chances are it's stuff that the seller didn't know was going on either. Or they knew it was going on and were trying to hide it, and they're still likely to work with you. Psychological. Got to be psychological through this, okay? So that's how the appraisal process happens, blah, 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 blah. You guys have it, I'm going quick, I'm running out of time. Do you guys have any questions on how I explain the inspection process, the appraisal process? Cool. Then what I say is, okay, now on the other side of things, this isn't something that we're working on, Carson. What it is the sellers are working on this. The sellers need to make sure that they transfer the property's title over to you and the bank through the deed of trust, free and clear of any liens or encumbrances. So if they owe any money on the property, such as another mortgage or maybe some sort of, lien or encumbrance, like for a court order or tax lien or something like that, they need to pay that off so they can give you title free and clear. Carson, like I said, this is where I get paid. Inspections take some time. They take some effort, a lot of reports to read, a lot of documents to go over, a lot of back and forth with the other side. The mortgage and financing and appraisal, that can take some time, but a lot of that's going to be us working with the lender. So if the lender reaches out to you and needs anything, I need you to jump on their request. So if you're not the type of person that looks at your email every day, during this process, you better be looking at your email every day, because I don't want us to lose earnest money for something that we were trying to request from you. You see, again, I've never in the history lost my buyer's earnest money. I've only had one buyer choose to forfeit half of his earnest money. And that's because you need to be attentive, just like I'm going to need to be attentive. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, all of this happens within about the first 30 to 45 days. And then once we do that in the state of Colorado, we get keys the same day as we transfer title, unless something else is negotiated with the seller. And bam, this is where I would talk about the market right now again. Hey, Carson, in this market, we are seeing a lot of sellers who want to sell their home, but have some time left back in the home so they can find and close on their next property. So in the state of Colorado, we can close and obtain possession the same day, as long as the sellers want us to do that too. Some sellers may want to lease back the home, or what I'm going to call stay in the home. Because to be honest with you, it's a lease document and it asks us what we're going to charge the sellers to stay back in their home. But during this competitive market, I'm going to educate you to make sure that you're willing to give the seller some free time back in the home. Now, let me go over this, okay? Because Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Carson, I should say, I play this game very, very well. And honestly, that's what real estate is. It's one big game. When I tell you that if a seller wants to stay in the home for an entire month, and I tell you that I would like for you to give them that time in that home for free, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it feels like I'm giving them something for free.
Exactly. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to know what is that worth to you, right? If that's $1,500, then I want you to make your offer on the house $1,500 less than asking them for $1,500 in rent. Do you know why?
No, why?
Because just like psychologically speaking, giving them something for free that you don't want to, you don't like that. But if you can make your offer to where it's not for free because you're doing it on the other side, meaning the purchase price, guess what it does to the seller? You hit their feel good spot by giving them something for free. You see, if you're giving something for free, Carson, it makes you feel good, right?
Sure.
So if you give a seller something for free, it can make them feel really good too. But psychologically speaking, you're getting paid over here because you're not giving them an extra $1,500. So if that happens, and if a seller wants some time back in this market, be prepared for that, because if there's multiple offers and another buyer is willing to give them time back in the house for free and we're not, the seller may give them the opportunity to go under contract because psychologically speaking, they looked better on paper. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, Carson, that's all I have for you, my friend. That's how the buying process goes. And then you guys, here's where I would go. And I would go, okay, now the last thing we need to do is we need to go over your loyalty agreement to me. So if you have some extra time, we're going to go over the loyalty agreement. And that's when I go over the exclusive right to buy. I either get it signed or I give them the option to sign it the next day or over the night or however that conversation goes, right? That's going to be a separate class in itself. And I don't do a lot of contracts because we have Jesse Engel on Tuesday that does that. If you guys want me to do a class where I don't fill out the contract, but I go over it and how I explain it to my clients, I'm happy to do that class too. And honestly, I think that's on my list. So, questions at all? What do you guys think? Can you see why it's powerful? Okay, it's
Do you do
not
that? Sorry, do you do that same kind of thing if they like, well, I don't want to meet, I don't have time? Do you do that same kind of thing over the phone?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I say to somebody that says, I don't really have time. I say, I can appreciate that. And a lot of times when I hear somebody doesn't have time, it's because they don't know how effective this is going to be. You see, I've been doing this so long that by taking the time to do this, I'm actually going to save you countless hours over here. So if you don't have time, then let me save you time by doing this. And here's what I mean by that. Carson, what is earnest money? Carson,
No
do you know
idea.
how an appraisal process works? You see, I'm going to save you time by going over this now versus when you want to go make an offer and I start to ask you these questions, you feel confident and comfortable. The other thing I have to ask you, Carson, is if you don't have time to meet with me to go over the process, this sounds a little brash, but how are you going to make time to go see property? And then you get, well, with the limited time that I do have, that's the time I was going to take to go see property. Okay, well, I can understand that. Let me do this. Let me do a hybrid situation with you, Carson. Our first house, I'm going to set it up for an hour. And at our first house, I want you to look through it. And I want to go through the buyer's consultation simultaneously with the first house. I will do that for you because I do see why you think it's going to save you time. But I think once I start to ask you questions at the first house, you're going to either want to sit down with me separately and go through this, or we're going to be able to go through it effectively at that first house. I'm okay doing that, Carson. I'd say something like that.
All right, thanks.
All right, I'm going to pop this recording up in the YouTube page. I'll see you guys real soon.